You know, when we think about getting older, a couple of things usually pop into our heads. Our muscles getting weaker and our bones getting a bit more fragile. We tend to see them as two totally separate battles we're fighting. But what if they're not separate at all? What if there's a hidden connection, a secret conversation happening between them? Well, let's get into it.
Right, so you've probably heard of these two. On one side, you've got osteoporosis. That's when our bones lose density, making them weaker and, way more likely to fracture. And on the other side, there's sarcopenia, which is a fancy term for losing muscle mass and strength. This is the stuff that can really impact your mobility and independence. For the longest time, we've treated these like two completely different problems.
But here's the big question. What if we've been looking at this all wrong? What if the weakening of our bones and the shrinking of our muscles are actually just two chapters in the exact same story that's happening inside our bodies?
And that question leads us to a syndrome that's basically been hiding in plain sight. So now we're going to pull back the curtain and really reveal the deep connection between these two incredibly important tissues.
And the name for this double whammy is osteosarcopenia. It might sound complicated, but it's pretty straightforward. It's when a person has both sarcopenia, the muscle loss, and osteoporosis, the bone loss, at the same time. Now, this isn't just bad luck, having two issues at once. Nope, it's a specific syndrome where each problem actually fuels the other, creating a really vicious cycle.
So how on earth is that possible? Well, here's the key thing you've got to understand. Your muscles and bones are not just separate parts doing their own thing. Think of them more like lifelong partners. They are in constant conversation. Researchers even have a name for it: crosstalk.
And this conversation happens in a few really cool ways. First, you've got mechanical signals. So when you exercise or lift something, your muscles pull on your bones. That physical stress is basically a signal that tells both of them, hey, time to get stronger. Then there are the biochemical messages. Your muscles and bones are constantly releasing these little proteins and hormones. Think of them like text messages flying back and forth that directly impact each other's health. And maybe the wildest part? They share the same origin. Both muscle cells and bone-forming cells actually come from the same type of stem cell. They're literally family.
But, this super tight relationship, it's a real double-edged sword. Because when that conversation starts to break down, the consequences are serious. So let's take a look at just how big of an impact this can have.
And listen, we are not talking about some rare condition that only affects a few people. A huge study in 2023, a meta-analysis that looked at over 15,000 patients, found that a staggering 21% of older adults have osteosarcopenia. That is more than 1 in every 5 people. This hidden syndrome is incredibly common.
So who's getting hit the hardest? Well, that same 2023 analysis gives us a crystal clear picture. This chart just lays it all out. Females have a risk that's more than 5 times higher. That is massive. And if you've had a fracture in the past, your risk nearly triples. These are not small numbers. They show us exactly who needs to be paying the most attention.
And the impact of having both of these at once is, well, it's profound. This quote from a 2019 review really says it all. When muscle and bone loss happen together, they massively increase the risk of frailty, hospitalizations, and even death. It's like a dangerous multiplier effect.
Okay, that all sounds pretty serious, but knowing the problem is always the first step toward finding a solution. And the really good news is that because our muscles and bones are so tightly connected, we can actually help them both at the same time.
And this is the beautiful part. That same crosstalk that can create the downward spiral, it's also our way out. It means we can use a 2-for-1 strategy, where one single action can benefit both your muscles and your bones, helping to strengthen that vital partnership.
So what does this brilliant strategy actually look like? Well, the research points to a really powerful 2-part approach. Step 1, and this is the big one, resistance exercise. That 2019 review calls it the most promising strategy for a reason. All that mechanical loading sends those powerful growth signals to both tissues. Then, step 2 is targeted nutrition, making sure your body has all the fuel and building blocks it needs to repair and grow.
So what does that nutrition piece look like in real life? This table breaks it down for us based on the research. We're talking about getting enough protein, somewhere in the ballpark of 1.2 to 1.5 grams for every kilogram you weigh. Then you need 800 to 1,000 IUs of vitamin D, which is absolutely crucial for both muscle function and bone health. And of course, about 1,300 milligrams of calcium, the main building block for your skeleton.
So all of this really leaves us with one last, really powerful question. Understanding osteosarcopenia forces us to see that our muscle health and our bone health are completely inseparable. It challenges us to stop thinking about aging as this inevitable decline that we just have to manage. Instead, we can start seeing it as an opportunity to actively build strength and vitality throughout our entire lives. The partnership between muscle and bone is already there. We just have to do our part to keep that conversation going strong.